I know.
How have you been?
Good, how are you doing?
Not too bad. We didn't expect
Meeting
the
of Coles County Board of Order. Roll call, please.
Corey. Here. Daly.
Here.
Doty.
Here.
Dowdy.
Here.
Marvin.
Here.
Metzger.
Yes.
Purdy. Here. Shook.
Here.
Barone.
Here.
Bell.
Here.
Coffee.
Here.
Zuhon.
Here. Shall I have the pledge and the invocation? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good, gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for another wonderful day in a great country. Protect the men and women who serve and give peace and comfort to the families of those who have served and ultimately sacrificed everything. We pray for guidance, grant us peace, and lead us as we move forward in our business. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Good to have everybody here tonight. We have a couple sets of minutes to, actually 3 sets of minutes. As presented in your board packets, a meeting of December 3rd, reorganizational meeting and swearing in. They have been reviewed. I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So
Motion by Metzger, second by Purdy. Roll call, please.
Corey. Yes. Daly.
Yes.
Doty.
Yes.
Dowdy.
Yes.
Marvin.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Purdy. Yes. Shook.
Yes.
Barone.
Yes.
Bell.
yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Zuhon.
Yes. There was the appointment of committees and that, and we had a regular, yes, a regular meeting on December the 11th of the county board. Upon review, call for a motion to approve.
Actually, I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes to reflect Daly and Shook's vote on the language proposal. I think they were listed as absent versus no votes.
Okay. So approval of the minutes upon that amendment, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a second? Paul Bailey, seconds. Roll call, please.
Corey,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Doty,
Yes.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Metzger,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Barone,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Zuhon.
Yes. And we had, find it here, December 18th. Patience, please. Where am I going to find this? Never mind. I got it. Thanks for your patience. I will read these minutes. A special meeting of the Coles County Board was called to order at 10 a.m. with the following members present: Juan Barone, Brandon Bell, Travis Coffey, Denise Corey, Paul Daly, Jeremy Dowdy, Stan Metzger, Rick Shook, and Chairman Mike Zuhon presiding. Absent members were Brian Marvin and Nancy Purdy. Following the pledge, the invocation was given by Chairman Zuhon. Executive session, motion was made by Bell, seconded by Shook to enter into executive session at 10:02 to discuss the appointment of interim state's attorney to fill the position of Brian Bowers, state's attorney. Yes votes: Barone, Bell, Coffey, Corey, Daly, Doty, Dowdy, Metzger, Shook, and Zuhon 10. Carried unanimous as no negative votes. Out of the executive session at 11:53 a.m., Juan Barone, Brandon Bell, Travis Coffey, Denise Corey, Paul Daly, Jeremy Dowdy, Stan Metzger, Rick Shook, and Chairman Zuhon are now back in regular session at 11:57 a.m. Still absent Brian Marvin and Nancy Purdy. Appointment was made by Zuhon to appoint Jesse Danley to serve as interim state's attorney until November 30th, 2020, with the consent of the board. The yes votes: Barone, Bell, Coffey, Corey, Daly, Doty, Dowdy, Metzger, and Zuhon. A negative vote by Mr. Shook, again absent Marvin Purdy. Board member Doty announced the vote as here and then declared that to be the yes vote. No public comment. Wait, excuse me, Kirk Allen. Mr. Allen did make a public comment addressing the new members. Upon motion by Bell and seconded by Daly, the Coles County Board was adjourned at 12 p.m. with the consent of the county board. Yes votes: Barone, Bell, Coffey, Corey, Daly, Doty, Dowdy, Metzger, Shook, and Zuhon. Now, prior to asking for a motion to approve those minutes, it has been pointed out they need to be amended to reflect that upon the resignation of Brian Bauer, at the moment of his resignation, the interim state's attorney would then take that position at the corresponding time. So I would entertain a motion to clarify the timing of the beginning of Mr. Danley's term as interim state's attorney upon the exit of that then, at the time, current state's attorney Brian Bauer. I would entertain that motion, please.
So moved.
Daly motion, second. Metzger. Any discussion? Any need for clarification?
Could you just repeat it for me one more time? Just for weird. I'm sorry.
It wasn't clarified within the minutes exactly when Mr. Danley's term would begin. It just said we were going to appoint him. The motion, the amendment, would insert into the minutes that his interim position would begin at the moment Mr. Bauer's term when his resignation became in effect.
Thank you for clarifying.
All right. Further discussion, questions? Not roll call, please.
Corey,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Doty,
Yes.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Metzger,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Barone,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Zuham.
Yes. We have one appointment to the Mental Health 708 Board. Todd Garner to replace Charles Schuster until June of 2021. With advice and consent of the board, I do appoint Mr. Garner. Roll call, please.
Corey,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Doty,
Yes.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Metzger,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Barone,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Zuham.
Yes. Committee reports, please. We have building and grounds up first.
Building and Grounds meeting, or Building and Grounds met December 17th at 5:30 with the following members present: Rick Shook, Nancy Purdy, Juan Barone, and myself, Chairman presiding. Also attending were Monty Walters, Maintenance Supervisor, Kelly Lockhart, RPDC, Jeff Lahr, Mental Health, and Elaine Carpus-Camada, Administrative Assistant. On the maintenance update, Mr. Walters updated the members on the activities of the maintenance department as follows: replacing stools at the jail, the east side gutter on the courthouse that needs repaired. We also talked about the computer box for the elevator in the basement of the courthouse needs replaced. Monty is supposed to be getting quotes and report back to us at the next meeting. And also the circuit clerk was looking to move to the second floor of the traffic office, library, excuse me. And old business, the members discussed the request for qualifications for assistance in implementing a guaranteed energy savings project for the county. Mr. Shook moved to proceed with this project using Smart Lock. Mr. Barone seconded the motion. The motion carried unanimously. There's no new business, no miscellaneous business, and the meeting adjourned at 6:05 on a motion by Ms. Purdy and a second by Mr. Shook.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey. Health and safety, please. That would be me. Never mind. Health and Safety Committee was called to order at 4:30 p.m. with the following members present: Paul Daly, Rick Shook, Stan Metzger, acting chair. I was unable to, myself and Nancy Purdy were unable to attend. Also attending were Julie Dieter, Care Center, Dan Hanson, the Human Director, Kelly Lockhart, DC, and Elaine Carpus-Camada, Administrative Assistant, Care Center update. Ms. Dieter has distributed the monthly reports to the members. They are attached. The EMA update, there was none. Old business, Mr. Lockhart updated the members on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting held on November 29th. It is attached as well. Under new business, the members discussed the upcoming appointment to the Mental Health Board. Mr. Shook moved to recommend Mr. Todd Garner to the chairman of the board for the county consideration. Mr. Doty seconded. The vote carried 3-0. Miscellaneous business, there was none. The meeting adjourned at 5 p.m. on motion by Mr. Doty and a second by Mr. Shook. 911. Who, Rick, did you attend?
I wasn't involved at the time.
Okay.
You want me to read that?
Yes, Mr. Bell, would you, since you were the attending member at the time?
Yep, sure
Thank
will.
you.
The Emergency Telephone Systems Board meeting was called to order at 3 p.m. on November 1st, 2018. The approval of September 2018 minutes, motion was made by Ensign and seconded by Wright to approve the minutes as written, motion carried. The budget report, the current budget reports and percentage sheets were reviewed and discussed with the ETSB. Supplies and claims, reviewed the bills, signed and submitted them for payment. The bills were reviewed with the ETSB. Director's report is attached from Bernie. There was no old business, no new business, no executive session was held. And the next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January 3rd, 2019, 3 p.m. Motion by Hinson and seconded by Cindy to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bell. The Coles County, this is Liquor Control Commission, Coles County Liquor Control Commission was called to order at 6:45 p.m. with the following members present: Denise Corey and myself presiding. Also attending were Jeremy Dowdy, Brandon Bell, Nancy Purdy, Rick Shook, Juan Bruin, Paul Daly, County Board members, Kelly Lockhart, RPDC, John Doty, and Elaine Carpus-Camana. The members were presented with a renewal application for a liquor license for the Meadowview Golf Course for 2019. Mrs. Corey moved to approve the application as presented. Motion was seconded by Zuhan, carried unanimous 2-0. Meeting adjourned at 6:50 on the motion by Mrs. Corey and seconded by Mr. Zuhan. And we return to the Liquor Control Commission on December 28th. The Coles County Liquor Commission was called to order at 9 a.m. and the following members present: Denise Corey, John Doty, and myself, Chair. Also attending Elaine Carpus-Camana. The members were presented with a renewal application for a liquor license from Hangar Bar and Grill for 2019. Mrs. Corey moved to approve the application as presented. The motion was seconded by Mr. Doty. It carried unanimously 3-0. Meeting adjourned at 9:05 on a motion by Mr. Doty and a second by Mrs. Corey. Now, Road and Bridge, please.
Road and Bridge. We had a meeting on December 17th. It was called to order at 5 o'clock with the following members present: Rick Shook, John Doty, Jeremy Doty, Travis Coffey, and myself presiding. Also attending Rick Johnson, County Engineer, Elaine Carpus-Camana, Administrative Assistant. Under new business, the members reviewed the timeline of events for the Tays subdivision, and it's in your board book. Mr. Johnson distributed the county engineer's report to the members, and it's also in your book. Miscellaneous business, Mr. Johnson requested consent to attend the out-of-state National Association of County Engineers annual conference in Wichita, Kansas, April 14th through the 18th, 2019. Mr. Doty moved to allow this request, seconded by Mr. Coffey, and passed unanimously. Mr. Johnson updated the members on the recent car crash on Route 316, and he also has that report in your attachment. The meeting adjourned at 5:35 on a motion by Mr. Doty and second by Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. We move on to senior citizens.
Senior system. No meeting.
All right, thank you. Mental health, Mr. Metzger.
There was no meeting to report. There will be a meeting this coming Thursday, the 10th.
Very good. Planning and development, Mr. Metzger.
No meeting as well.
Public Health Board, no official minutes at this time. Sheriff and Law.
No meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Supplies and claims, Mr. Marvin.
The bills have been reviewed and approved.
Very good. Is there any old business? Any new business? Miscellaneous business, February regular count falls on Lincoln's birthday. Will the courthouse be open? No. So, Wednesday evening.
I'll make a motion for Wednesday all meetings.
Okay, we have a motion to move the regular county board meeting from February 12th to February 13th. All ladies seconds. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Corey.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Doty.
Yes.
Dowdy.
Yes.
Marvin.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Purdy.
Yes.
Shook.
Yes.
Barone.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Zuhon.
Yes. Any need for executive session? No announcements of any appointments. Public comment. We will open this to those in attendance. Please remember to stay on task as much as possible and proper form. So I have first, oh yes, in that it will be our regular scheduled time, 7 p.m. for our regular monthly meeting. Thank you. Mr. Dukeman, you're first on the list.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
A couple months ago, November meeting, I brought up the topic, myself and John Kraft, discussing the county board members being involved with the county health plan. And I just wanted to know, has there been any discussion about resurrecting the issue of that?
We have discussed that, and I am not totally clear on the details, but as we are considered, are you speaking of the county board members being?
That's correct.
Okay, good. As being on the payroll of the county, we are considered employees. We are elected officials, but we are considered employees, and therefore we do qualify for that benefit.
Okay. It's my understanding this has been going on since approximately 1999, for the past 20 years. But in your minutes, in any of the meetings of the past 20 years. So therefore, I don't know how I can actually use reading receiving benefit.
I don't have a clear answer for that.
Okay, so is that something that we can make sure that we get an answer for at the next meeting?
Yeah, so we can do that. Let me have 2 seconds to
Sure.
scribble this down,
Yeah.
please.
And also, I just want to remind everybody that's on the board, you guys are role models for this community, the whole county, okay? And my opinion of what is allowed and what you should do with it is two different things. It states that yes, you can participate, but is it mandated that you do? No, it doesn't. So we have board members working 10 hours or less a month, receiving $545 in benefits. I don't know that that's something that, if I was sitting on the board, that I could actually take care of. You know, I don't think I could participate in that, because I don't think it's morally correct for you to do that. I mean, here we have board members sitting beside another board member that is not receiving $6,540 a year of benefits. If I was that other individual sitting right beside them, I'd say, I don't think it's right. You know, if you're getting the benefit, you know, you would think they'd be receiving the pay, but that's not the way it works. We know that. But I think that if we want to truly set an example in our community, we would actually deny that from ever taking place. That's just my opinion.
What would you have done if you got elected?
I definitely wouldn't participate.
You sure?
I'm positive.
Now,
But that's just me.
when you say deny that taking place,
You do not have to do it, my understanding. Have an amendment and approve it. You don't have to participate. Because you have other members that are not. So it's something that you don't have to do. You just tell these people, no, we're not going to do this. We as board members are not going to participate in the employee health program. And we're going to save the taxpayers that money every year. For the last 20 years, this is being done, okay? And I just don't think it's right. The person out on the street, there's no way they'd ever qualify for a benefit like this. No way. So,
well, on
Like I say, that's, you know,
On a personal note, I do not take it, never have taken it. I've either been self-insured or, taking care of my own policies with my own health care.
right.
But if the option is available and it says you may participate, then they may participate, and that's what is happening.
If you do not pass a resolution, they will not participate.
We could pass, you're asking us to pass such a resolution that the county board.
If you want to continue with the benefits, you're going to have to.
To pass it to not participate
No.
or
If you're going to pass something for them to participate, that's something that's going to have to happen. Okay, otherwise you're in violation of law. And that's something that we want to make sure going forward, we've been coming for 2 years. All we're asking is our government officials to follow the law. We have to as citizens. I don't think we're asking too much. And if something's brought to your attention, that should be addressed.
Follow through with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to say something. You guys have been saying that, the county, Charleston, Mattoon, we don't have any jobs, don't have this, don't have that, and all that. When somebody's getting something, seems to me, you guys are wanting to take it away. I mean, you're always wanting for to better yourself. You want your business to do real good and all that stuff.
I'm
Of
going
course.
Okay, I want to bring something to everyone's attention. When I went before the board of review 2 years ago, they found in my favor. Okay, they did. They found in my favor. But you know what? I didn't feel like I could stop. You know why? Because of all the other hundreds of business people in our communities that couldn't or didn't want to step forward and say what's being done is totally wrong. That's why I'm still fighting for those people. It's not for me. I mean, yeah, I got a 35% increase instead of a 72% increase in my property. But you know what? I was okay with that because I told them I would pay only the appraisal value of my property. They did that for me, but I wasn't willing to stop because I knew other people that were paying 400%, 500%, 600% more than what they should have been paying. And we have actually found out, because the Department of Revenue has found in their favor, they were over assessed $375,000, $500,000. So it's not like Mr. Bauer said in the paper a couple months ago, it's not a tax objection for what we're doing here. Okay, we all know we have to pay taxes, but we have to do it the correct and legal way also.
But here we go back to, I'm not picking, I'm not trying to cause any trouble, but you go back to the situation again, it's been 16 years. And I hated it, I hated it.
Get out in the community and find out what properties are selling for now compared to what they were selling for before 2008. But they're selling for less, okay? So, but my question that I ask though is that next month when I can come back, there will be an answer for how we're going to address this going forward.
It will be discussed within some of the committees. I don't know exactly which one yet, but yeah, we'll figure out which spot to put it in, and we will earnestly discuss it.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duke. Mr. Perry.
You're going to lead me into something I want to talk about, because I want the county board, everybody sitting around the table, so listen to what I got to say. I wanted you to digest what I'm going to say, and then I want to know how we're going to fix it. 2 years ago, we did Mattoon Township, did we not? Quadrennial assessment, correct?
Yes.
And we all agree with that? Quadrennial assessment 2 years ago, Mattoon Township. At that time, I had lots on Lakeland Boulevard. I got a number of $35,000 per lot. I came over here with an appraisal. We walked it through the board of review. They accepted the appraisal. Down to 16,000 a lot. Let's do the math here, okay? 16,000. Last year, I show up again over a board review thing, which is 2017, and I talk about lot prices again. I bring it up again. And my lots jump from 16 to 35. Okay, back to 35. And I said, what are you guys doing? I've got an appraisal for 16. We're in a quadrennial year. That's what it's worth. Okay? I get property values again this year on Lakeland Boulevard. If the going rate is 16,000 and you agree to 16,000 for a lot, why in the world am I getting numbers of $24,900 on the other end of the lot or on the other end of the block? One's worth 16, the other worth 24. You think that's good? You want to call that equalization? That's not equalization. So here's what we got. We got multiple values on Lakeland Boulevard 2 years past the time I brought you the $16,000 appraisal. You see why I might be a little frustrated? And oh, by the way, Charleston Avenue, Mr. Coleman had an appraisal go to the state because your assessment office said that he was wrong. Well, the value on the ground came back way low. And what I'm going to challenge you at the Office and Rules Committee to get a hold of somebody, let's get these values where they need to go. Whatever the state said that stuff's worth on Charleston Avenue, it's not $10 a foot. Get it down where it belongs. Quit playing games. When we get something right, let's stay with it and fix it. You're not doing it. 2 years of this. Come on!
You know
2
what?
years!
We're back to yelling.
I'm not yelling, I'm just frustrated.
All
All I want you to do is what's
I
got
will
to be
talk to
done.
Andrew about it, and I will get you an answer.
2 years of it.
Yes, sir.
When will we have the answer?
You know what, I'll talk to
I've
Andrew.
got a-
I will
I've got
talk
another-
to Andrew tomorrow,
I've
and then
got
I will give
another-
you a call, and I'll discuss it with you.
Since I can't trust what goes on over here, I've got a complaint in the system. Again,
Okay?
every one of those values on Lakeland Boulevard ought to be at appraisal price, which you've already agreed to. Not $29,000.
I understand your frustration. I will look into it and give you a call.
The other thing is I want something done about the farm buildings. I want to know when we're going to start looking at farm buildings because other counties are doing it. We know that.
I have
And
talked
it's
to
time.
Andrew. I've talked to Andrew about that. There's a few items that need to be looked at. Cell towers need to be looked at. That office,
Anything,
like we've said, that office has been in disarray for a while. There is work that needs to be done. We're trying to move in the right direction.
we're not correcting nothing at all. That's the problem. Thank you.
Mr. Donoso?
Sorry I'm late, I had a business obligation that I could not get out of.
We saw you smile.
So I was
You're here, welcome.
trying to get here as fast as I could. I don't know what Rex totally said, I don't want to be redundant on anything. I do share Rob's frustration because this has been a long 2 years for us, okay? And I don't take pleasure out of taking 2 years out of my life when I need to be doing other things. And I'm sure you don't like it any more than we like it. The thing that's the most frustrating for me out of everything is the lack of accountability. Look, when I make mistakes and it's on me, I'd like to think I'm man enough to say, I did wrong, I made a mistake, I will try to correct it. The frustrating thing for us is we brought 2 years now to this board. We brought to you guys problems we've had with the assessment values, with the way the assessor is hired. Because remember when we all started out, it was if you could find a legal way for us to start over again and change all this, we would. We brought those to you in good faith. and nothing happened. We were forced to try to adjudicate this in court. That's where we're at now. It is very frustrating. We know, and I'm going to say it, and you don't have to answer it. We know he was not an employee of the Supervisor of Assessment Office. You know it, we know it. You can say that we're in a court case and you can't say anything, but we know it. How do we know it? We have absolute documented proof of it. Anybody on the Office and Rules Committee knows it. You know when you were looking at Tyler Tech's bid proposal in 2015, and you were looking at Mr. Becker's bid proposal in 2015, that they were not applying for jobs at the Supervisor of Assessment's office. You know that. You know it. And we know that you know it. So we're not going to play that charade. But there has not been any accountability. The first time we came here and I asked, why weren't the reassessments done for over 16 years? I heard Jan Eads saying, I'm not picking on Jan because she's not here to defend herself, but she said, I had no idea they weren't being done. And the reason I bring up Jan's name is because she was the longest tenured board member at that time. Right now, we've got other members here that are the longest tenured. Mr. Daly being one of them. They knew the assessments weren't going on for that long, so that doesn't hold water with me. So you can't see why we don't think there's a trust issue between the board and us in good faith, then you just don't get it. There is a trust issue. There is, Brian. There is a trust issue. We don't believe what you say. And we don't believe what you say because you've given us reason not to believe what you say. I'm going to give you an example of something that's got you in hot water right now. And this is all because you wouldn't listen to the people. We came here middle of last year when Mr. Reardon was about to go up for either be reappointed to the board or not. You guys decided to put Ann Lawrence in. You invited me to come to the interviews. I know not everyone voted for Mr. Lawrence, but look what's happened in the last few weeks. We don't have someone who can pass the test in the Supervisor of Assessment's office. Therefore, we don't have a qualified Supervisor of Assessments moving forward. The state of Illinois now is not going to supplement the salary of that office like they used to because the period is over with. Did anybody know when you asked Andrew, and nothing against Andrew, because I think it was a logical choice to try to say maybe Andrew can pick it up and go with it, but did anyone understand the ramifications that if someone didn't get past their test within the statutory amount of time, that you weren't going to be able to have the state funding? Did you guys realize that?
Was it half the salary, I believe?
Yeah, half of the salary.
Yes.
So
Yes.
who's going to pick that up? Who's got to pick that tab up? The taxpayer, right?
Well, fortunately, we're saving the money because we're not paying a supervisor of assessments.
So
even though we're not going to get that money, but we're not paying that salary outright. Am I correct?
Andrew's salary's not going to be supplemented.
As of right now, I mean, his 60-day interim is, I think, ends this week.
So he went from a supervisor assessment salary that was being supplemented by the state. I'm asking. You're shaking your head.
No, he got an extra $1,000 per month, yes.
With the intention that he would pass the test.
Yeah, but then if he were to pass the test, then he would then probably get the salary of close to what Karen was paying.
So
Yes, the ramifications, absolutely knew that. And did we think that we'd be waiting on, this
So none
time?
of the applicants have passed the test,
No,
correct?
sir.
So
No.
none of them have passed the
No.
test.
And we haven't had anyone apply that, has passed the test before.
And we've got a board review, and we're still waiting for at least one member to pass the test, and he's got a year statutory period, is that correct? Mr. Lawrence has about a year.
Yes.
So we don't have a qualified supervisor assessment. We've only got 2 people on the board of review who passed the test. And if I understood the newspaper correctly, it's my understanding now that decisions that go through the supervisor assessment's office concerning taxes have to be signed off by the board county chairman. Am I right on that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I've been informed.
Okay. I go in front of the board of review because I don't agree with my assessment. I've got Dan Lawrence, who you guys appointed, who has not passed the test yet on there, who was a former member of this board, who I begged you, and I know you voted against him, Brandon, so if the shoe fits, wear it. Stan, I beg you. Don't put someone on that board that's close to you guys. Get an outside person so they can be independent and autonomous, that can make decisions based on the best interest of the taxpayer in the county. Now you've got someone on there that you wanted, that was a former board member, and you guys are going to make the decision whether or not the taxes should be changed on that board of review. You got the final say. And you don't see that as a conflict of interest?
I would hope you'd give Mr. Lawrence a chance to.
This is not about Mr. Lawrence, but there was...
Yes, it is. You've
No, it's
mentioned Mr.
not.
Lawrence multiple times in this conversation.
No,
This has nothing to do
you're
with
trying
Mr.
to make
Lawrence.
this about Mr. Lawrence, and I don't want that, because in the interview, he accused me of going after his character, and I never did that. No, I didn't.
I think we messed up in that interview, but that we didn't ask each person coming in the exact same question. I don't think you, I mean,
I was
it
there for all.
was interesting how you questioned, a couple different applicants, because it wasn't the same. But
How I questioned them?
or what questions were asked. So
So it was my line of question. What I'm saying is you guys could have made the decision to put someone more autonomous in there, and that was our complaint. And now, all of it comes back on you guys to make the decision. And with everything that's transpired over the last 2 years, you expect us to think we can walk in the board of review and we're going to get a fair hearing and that this board can make a fair decision on our taxes after we've already accused the guy you hired to do the assessment is doing the assessments improperly, and you don't see any conflict of interest.
I can see where you can take that. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When you left your board of review, were you satisfied with the value that they gave you on your property across the
Not
street?
necessarily. I'm going to
Did
tell
you
you.
go to Springfield?
No, and I'll tell you what. Hold on, I'm answering your question. I'll tell you
I'm
why.
just bring this back.
All right, I'll tell you why I didn't go to Springfield. They're backed up 6 years. If I didn't agree with what I got at the board of review, I would be stuck paying an assessment for 6 years on a building that I didn't agree with because I can't get any satisfaction at the local board of review, and they're so bogged down at the state because the same thing's going on around the state. People are protesting their taxes. This is a problem, and we can't get a speedy and quick answer on anything. We didn't even know the formula you guys were using. We couldn't get it from the board of review. We couldn't get it from this board. We FOIA requested it for 1.5 years. 18 months went by. We couldn't even find out what equation you were using to come up with the values of our building. I found out the day of my board of review meeting, the formula, which was totally incorrect and improper. If we're going to be all open and honest, I should be able to ask the county, how are you coming up with the valuations for my property? And you guys think we're coming here every week and just bitching. I'm sorry. This is our livelihood, and there's problems. And so, yes, there is a trust problem between us and you. We don't trust you. You've given us reason. And I just want you to know, this doesn't look good on the board now that we don't have an autonomous supervisor of assessment, that the decisions have to be made by the board, and that we have someone on the board of review that's connected to the board at one time or another, when I think the most qualified guy who had experience with appraisal and everything was sitting down there in the interview room and he didn't get a shake. It seems to me, whether I'm wrong or not, I don't think I am, but the perception on my part is, you wanted Dan Lawrence, he was the guy you picked from the beginning, he went in. And I'm not belittling Dan Lawrence or his character, I'm talking about the board. And I know not everyone voted for him. But now you got a problem because we're going to be at the board of review. And a decision is going to be made at that board of review on properties that are owned by our group. And it's going to have to flow through here. And with all the tension that's occurred over the last 2 years, you're going to expect us to trust you to make the right decision. And I'm just telling you right now, that trust has been eroded. So we have a problem. We probably wouldn't have as much a problem if you had someone on that board. At least the board would have been more autonomous. But it didn't happen. This is what I feared from the beginning. So I just wanted to express that and let you know that I'm not trying to cause problems, but someone has to be accountable for the decisions they make, and we've had no accountability. Okay? To be honest with you, I think there's some people on this board that need to resign because they made wrong decisions, they never owned up to them, and they still don't own up to them. And what's happening in the court proceeding is it's stall, delay, stall, delay. You guys know if our court case gets heard, and it's heard by any judge who has any unbiased whatsoever, that it's going to show that Mr. Becker was hired by this board, he was hired illegally, and the work that he did shouldn't stand. You know it, and we know it. And maybe procedurally, you guys will get out of it because we'll have a judge that won't hear it. But I'm telling you right now, it's wrong. You've eroded the faith and trust in the taxpayers, and you're going to have a problem moving forward. I would rather all of you just say, you know what? We screwed up. Let's sit down and work this out. You think we want to go to court? Because I'll tell you what, the business people in the community are paying for this. We're paying for it. And we're also paying an increase in taxes we don't feel are fair. So I just want you to know that the decisions you're making are not moving us forward. It's not moving us forward. We need to find supervisor assessment that can pass the test. We need to hire board of review members that are not connected to this board that can act autonomously. And when a taxpayer goes in there, he can walk out saying, you know what, I got a fair shake. And the perception is not there. So I'm sorry, but you guys need to hear this.
I understand.
You need to hear it.
There are citizens that their taxes actually went down.
I understand.
That they're saving $1,500, $2,000 a month. So,
Well, if their taxes went down, it means they weren't assessed properly in the first place.
no, it's probably new bill that came in, new bill at, 7, 8, 9
So they
years
weren't on
ago.
the
They were
tax
on the
bill.
tax. Well, of course they were.
That we don't, neither party sits on.
I'm just telling you, there's not enough autonomy now. And this is a position you've created. Now you guys gotta own it. I'm sorry, you do. You gotta own it.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Kirk Allen.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate you addressing the appointment issue with the state's attorney. I don't know if you saw the article we wrote on that.
I did not personally, but I have been kept informed.
Okay, there's one element that I want you to think about, and as a state's attorney, as a former defense attorney, I think you'll appreciate this, and we talked about that in the article. I appreciate you fixing it, but when you had your special meeting, the meeting wasn't published in the paper as required by law. And so far, we've had 4 defense attorneys, and I'm trying to prevent future filings in court that he's going to have to answer as the state's attorney, where they're going to go to a defendant's case and say, I want my defendant freed because the state's attorney was not legally appointed in a legal open meeting because your special meeting was not published in the paper. Now, will a judge do that? I don't know. But I would encourage, put it back on your agenda for a regular meeting and make that appointment in a legal open meeting without any gray area, so a future defense attorney can't come in and say, hey guys, you screwed up and didn't do this. I want my client released. And whether you do or not, it's entirely up to you, but I think your first step of addressing the appointment was effective at the resignation point, not immediately, was important, because that was a prong that is definitely a problem. The other issue, Brian, you had mentioned that the committee, or I don't know what committee it was, that the bills were approved. Is the board as a whole not approving bills anymore at the meeting, or are you doing that in committee now?
The committees, there are 5 members on the committee.
Of supplies and claims, I know.
Supplies and claims,
Yeah, they review
They
the
review.
review, and it's, yes, that is correct. The committees go in, review the bills,
Sign off.
look for any discrepancies, sign
Right.
off, and
Maybe I missed it. As a county board, are you guys approving them as a whole in this meeting?
no.
Okay. I think statutorily, the board has to approve expenditures, not committees. Something I'll look into, and I'll be happy to get back with you on that. The other element that I want to address with what Rex talked about. You are absolutely right, Chairman, that the county code says you guys may receive health benefits. The law also outlines that elected officials, you're required to set their compensation no later than 180 days before the election, or before your term begins. The Constitution outlines you cannot have an increase or a decrease in your compensation during your term of office. Benefits are a form of compensation. So when you set your compensation for the elected positions, whatever you put on that resolution is what you get. That's it. Now, it says you may, you're right. And when we did this in DuPage County, which is the second largest county in population in the state's attorney fully recognized hey guys, we need to pass a resolution for the next election cycle that allows these benefits that are being received. That's the proper way to do it. Not saying you can't have the benefit, but there's a proper way to put it on your compensation setting resolution 180 days before the election. It's not a matter of taking anything away from someone, it's a matter of following the law. And each and every time you do that, that builds that trust. And I do appreciate you addressing, the appointment issue. That's something that, who knows what a defense attorney is going to throw up there. No offense to former defense attorneys. But they're going to do everything they can, rightfully so, to get their client off. And that's a step towards fixing that. And I think the same with the healthcare resolution. It's something that everywhere we've looked at, if it wasn't on your salary setting compensation or your compensation setting resolution, you can't get any more than what's on it. I mean, we've had some that were getting car allowances, all kinds of other allowance benefits, including healthcare, and it all got stopped once they realized they didn't follow the law. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. And I was listening with one ear. What is John French?
John French.
He's not here.
Okay. Mr. Les Combs?
Mike. Mr. Chair. I was here 4 months ago addressing the issue of the dumpsters that were pulled from the townships. My understanding was the only reason those dumpsters was pulled was because of illegality. Am I misinterpreting that? Or was there other reasons that this board, they just used the excuse that it was illegal and had other reasons for taking this dumpster away from the townships?
Legality, fear of potential lawsuit. It was investigated through Regional Planning Office. There, whether it's a technicality, a statute, a mandate from EPA, I don't know which word to frame it around, that said, that described what the way our system was illegally operated.
I understand.
And we were subject to, we could be subject to
Yes.
multi-million-dollar fines coming from the EPA.
Yes.
We don't want to get in that kind of contest with
I
the
understand.
EPA. So we elected to shut down. There was information that said, from the EPA, that it said, if we self-incriminate ourselves, turn ourselves in and say we did this, we were unaware. Ignorance is never the proper excuse, but we were unaware that this was totally improper and illegal according to your rule book. They indicated that it just stops right there. If we cease and desist, they don't do anything either.
Okay.
And then we looked at how can we do that, but I'm going to let you, so yes, there was no other reason. The
Okay.
legality, the additional reason was
Legal.
multi-million-dollar lawsuits coming, fines coming from the
Right.
EPA. That's
Right.
better.
I deal with
better
the
term.
EPA a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, now, 4 months ago, 4 months, I came before this board with a legal option for this board to reissue the dumpsters to the townships with Dale Ryder involved, who had talked to the EPA and was ready for a board member. At that meeting, I said, if you will, he wrote down how I had it to be worded, it has to be word specific. that if it was worded that the dumpsters could be issued by the county back to the townships for the purpose of collecting and removal of open dumping, that it was totally legal, okay? Dale Ryder had that substantiated. He had it ready. Nobody followed that on it. Nobody called Dale. Nobody went forward to hang on to it. The regional planning commission, when they did get a hold of Dale, blindsided him. They didn't discuss the question. They were on the recycling question. They didn't ask the specific question. Therefore, they did not get the response. Dale said, I thought maybe you talked to him and that you guys had changed your agenda. I said, no, he's on his own agenda. Okay? Here's how this should work. This is how I advise you to work. If you truly are representatives of the people, the road commissioners, I understand a couple of them, being it's gone, not their place. County board, some of the members don't want it, not their place. You are employees of the people. This is how it should go. This is how it's supposed to work. The road commissioners should have a public meeting with the people in their township and have a vote on how many of them want a dumpster reinstated legally. Then that road commissioner, as an elected official, who for 45 years has been his job to take care of these dumpsters, comes to a meeting with you, the board members, who then represent each of these townships within your board member area. And if they choose as a majority that they want to reinstate these dumpsters, you do so as employees of the people. Now the thing is that this can be done legally. That takes away the illegal part, okay? The thing is this program outdated? Sure is. The trouble is you cold turkey the people. You took it away with them with nothing to fill in or substitute until you could come up with a better plan, okay? I know that the Regional Planning Commission is working on a better plan, but you've also got people on the committee that have conflict of interest, okay? I've been to committee meetings. They are dumpster trash collecting people. They are making money from the shutdown. Do you think they want it reinstated? Conflict of interest, okay? So you've got that problem. I'm trying to show you guys how to represent the people in your districts through the township. Road commissioner is a public official too. He's elected by the people. He works for the people. His idea is to represent the people's wishes. Mr. Coffey is one of them. He knows that the people in his district want it reinstated. I have contacted, other people have contacted him. He has contacted Dale Ryder. I finally had to get a hold of him, my own representative. He's got a hold of Dale. He's talked to Dale. Dale's gun shy now because he thought he had this all set up for you for what you said you wanted, and he got blindsided by something that was completely off track and on another completely separate agenda. And I want to let you know that and make you aware of that. This is supposed to be about the people. If you've got an option that will be better than what we have, that's fine. But you haven't got the ability to implement it ASAP. Okay? You're going to have to acquire property. It's going to have to be fenced in. You're going to have a security system. You're going to have somebody maintain it. You don't have any of that. And it's going to take time. Okay? With this, you have the ability to reissue dumpsters under a legal manner for the people until you can resolve the issue with something different, updated, better, however. But in the meantime, you've got people that are upset. Is it a majority? I know in my district it is, as far as Mr. Coffey's, I know it is. Is it in the others? I don't know. I know I've heard other people complain. I know that Hinesboro doesn't even use one. The township there doesn't even use a dumpster, never had, because they use the city-wide dumpster. They said they didn't feel the Dublin up was a county, because I've talked to Jerry Woods. Okay? So this is what I'm trying to get across to you people. I'm frustrated because it's been 4 months and nobody took any action. Nothing. And I had it set up. I did the legwork. I talked to Mr. Ryder. I explained what we needed. You told me what you wanted. Nobody called you. You give the impression to the people that you don't care what they want. And that isn't what you want. That's what you're here for. You're here for the people. If the people don't want it, okay, then the people don't want it. But if they do, and you have the legal capability to implement it, then why not do so? At least until you can find something that you can implement better. Am I wrong? Don't you people want to represent the people in your districts and what they want? Is there anybody here that doesn't?
That's what we're elected to do.
That's right. And I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass. I'm trying to explain it to you in a logistically, common sense manner that helps the people. Okay? That's all I want.
Well, that was going to be my question. This thing's not dead in the water, because I know I've been to the solid waste advisory, meetings. I know we have one this week. I wasn't able to attend the last one, so it's not dead in the water. That
I
was my
understand
question.
that.
I'm asking.
What my concern is that I'm looking at a stall tactic. Okay? The program is supposed to end in 2020. My understanding. If I'm wrong.
That's when they predicted the funds would run out.
Right.
correct? Okay.
Right.
Yes.
We've already stalled 6 months, and nothing been done. We're coming up on 2020, it's 2019, folks. So what I'm seeing is a stall tactic. That's my impression, and that's some of the other people's impression. You're stalling, so that when 2020 comes, you end the program, you take the money, and you use it in the other program that you're wanting to implement.
And that money is earmarked, or it comes in as, we can't take that money and do anything else with it.
You can when the program ends.
I don't think so. And I'll make sure of that, but I'm not sure.
My understanding is that if you, as long as it's not officially closed, you're right, you can't touch it. But when it becomes officially closed, that money becomes available as long as it's utilized in the same type of program, okay?
Okay.
For funding. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but that's my interpretation. And basically, what I don't want to see is stalling it around when there's something that can be done ASAP. It should have already been done.
Well, I agree totally with you, and I have gone to those meetings on the behalf of the township and working with Mike Cox. So I know they're trying to come up with a solution. And as you said, acquiring land, putting up a fence, being monitored, that costs money.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I know they are looking for a solution, but I know in going out, I've talked to Kelly, to go out and acquire land, put up a fence, put up some sort of security, you go out and do that, how much money does that leave you then to operate and put in dumpsters? And I'm only asking, I don't know.
Exactly.
But I think if we can implement it again, I would be all for it.
Yes.
If it's feasible that we can.
If nothing else, it's a temporary solution.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
But we don't want a temporary solution of going out and acquiring a 2-acre lot, putting a fence around it. That's not a temporary
I talked to
solution. If you're gonna spend that money, you better hope you have it right.
Right.
Last thing you wanna do is sit there, well, we own this lot over here that it's abandoned, but
We don't have money to do anything else with it.
But it's a nice 2-acre lot with a fence around it.
Yeah, and
it's.
and you've got, a prime example is the people in our area. I had a 78-year-old individual that said, when I was talking to him, when are we gonna get the dumpsters back? And I said, I don't know, I'm working on it. And I said, you know, the big argument is that, you know, you got trash, rural trash, and when this was implemented, you didn't have any rural trash. And he says, yeah, he says, do you know what they want to come out and pick up a couch? He said, they won't pick it up on a regular route. He said, you know what they want to come and pick up my couch if I set it out there? He said, $75.
Well, I think that's.
I own rental property, and I've spent $400 or $500
Yeah.
on dumpsters for the past 20
Yeah.
years getting rid of stuff. So I know what the cost is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do demolition work and everything else, so yeah.
And back to your point of having people on there, that of course their business has gone up, you know, but the scary thing about that is, here people were able to come and dump their trash
Yes.
into.
And as far as I know, they still have the citywide, don't they?
Into a dump, but yet now, since we've taken that away, you're telling me there are people now that had to call a company and say, will you come get my trash? Or that helped.
Or it's gone out in a.
Oh, absolutely, but if you said their business increased.
Yes.
So that solved a little bit of the problem, because that was part of our problem, was people were getting a freebie. People were going out and charging money to clean out someone's barn.
Well, and that's the other argument. That's the other argument that I heard some people is that, you know, I don't want my tax dollars going for that. And I said, well, hey, I don't want my tax dollars going for an airport that doesn't do me a damn bit of good either, but I pay it.
Amen, I know.
You know what I'm saying? So there's always situations like that, okay? So that argument didn't play weight with me, because I've got taxes I pay on stuff that I think is ridiculous. But this is what I wanted to bring for you, because I got frustrated after 4 months and seeing no movement whatsoever. And I would like to see this board move forward on this situation. I laid the playing field on it. Mr. Coffey has talked to Dale Ryder. Dale Ryder needs assurance from this board that this is what you're on board for and everything. And he will get you what you want in writing. He thought he was going to get it for you before, but it was sidetracked off on something
But we
else.
still haven't figured out how to do it, right?
As we had talked on the phone, and we've spoke several times now, the big thing is, and I think we're both understanding this, it cannot go back to the way it was before.
No.
There's not a chance in,
No.
you know what, because there's illegal dumping, et cetera, et
Yes.
cetera. If it were to even try to entertain the idea of it coming back, there are some serious adjustments
Yes.
that need to be made. And when I spoke to Dale, you know, he basically said, if I'm going to work with you guys on this, I want 100% assurance that we're following it by the book. He doesn't want to get into a EPA. I don't. I'm sure no one else does.
No, nobody does, but I've dealt with the EPA, I've done work for the EPA. And I'll tell you right now, the EPA, I have one that's a good friend that's an officer that writes out tickets. He said, Les, there's so many new laws every year, he said, we don't even know what we can enforce until they go to court. He said, that's just the way it is. He said, we interpret them the way we do, and he said, we don't know, you know, until we actually, somebody takes us to court, whether we can actually implement that law or not. So, you know, the EPA aren't all monsters. There are some out there, believe me. I've dealt with some that they've got attitudes and out to make a name for themselves. But what I'm saying is right. The dumpsters, when they're implemented, as Mr. Coffey was saying, is they can't stay over 24 hours. They have to be removed like they used to be the same day, okay? Otherwise, you've got to put a fence around, okay? The people can't put anything in the dumpster. The people can put in an end loader that the road commissioner can put in the dumpster that they can't, okay? That makes it legal. That makes it not a transfer station, and that makes it work for a temporary situation until something better can be resolved. So I took enough of your time, but like I said, I was frustrated. I needed to air out what my concerns are, and I hope you understand, and I hope that it isn't another 4 months that I'm in here getting upset again and having to talk again. I'm hoping that you guys can come to a resolution on this and get some help for these people who want the dumpsters back for a short period of time. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Mr. Stodden.
I'd just like to say, I'll make a point here. As far as the trash and the dumpsters, we have people that we can hire. Every one of us needs to be responsible, or we can haul up our own trash. We don't need more government. We don't need to spend tax dollars on these things. It goes back to responsibility. And once people get hooked on these things, then they can't seem to rise to the occasion. I mentioned this a long time ago. The Apostle Paul said, every man should bear his own burden. And that's not too hard to understand. If we would go back to that, things would get better. With a problem here of 2 years, I did talk to an attorney, I brought this up, and he said we don't have to keep moving to these motions to dismiss. So what I would recommend is that we proceed. The board can tell the state's attorney here, he's new, to just go ahead and proceed. Let's go to court, and that's why we have court. Hopefully, the judge will give us some consideration, and then we can either go back or we can proceed. So that's just a thought tonight. Let's, we shouldn't have this concept in our head. It's bad thinking that government is going to take care of us. We got to get away from that. Now, I know we're a long way from home. I realize that. We're a long way from home. I don't know if we'll ever get back to it. We see what's happening at a higher level, and we should shudder. It should unnerve us what's coming down. And we're certainly not going to get anywhere unless we go back to the old paths. We need to go back to the old paths of responsibility. Quit going around acting like beggars. That would gain us a whole lot. I know we're all tired.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, you have a motion, made a request.
If I may, Chairman, just real quick, back on the point of paying the bills. In the county code, it's 2 sentences, and if you disagree, speak up. Section 2-1006, open meetings. The county board shall sit with open doors. I know it's closed, it's okay. And all persons may attend their meetings. Second sentence, the vote on all appropriations to appropriate money from the county treasury shall be taken by ayes and nays and entered on the record of the meetings. It's an obligation of the county board as a whole to do that in a regular meeting. Committees have not been authorized to transact business. And I would ask that you would bring all expenditures out of the treasury to the county board meetings. Thank you.
May I confer with the state's attorney for 1 second, and then I'll have a...
Not a problem. I'm not expecting an answer. It's entirely up to you, but it's...
You bring forth a very, very good point.
No problem. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's been done that way forever.
Yeah. If we can make a correction, we will...
Not a problem.
I'm guessing the definition.
You got a full house.
Mr. Allen, quick response, please. Very proper question, very good points made. When we approve our budget, we approve all expenditures for the year. Now, that does not mean that we cannot bring this forward for review and discuss it at next month's meeting, which is the 13th, not the 12th.
If I may, in regards to that, you approve a budget, you didn't approve the expenditures, because a budget will have a line item, and from that line item, you might have 20 different expenditures. And there's case law on it, so it'll take some time for your council to do some work on it, but you're gonna find approval of budget is not the same as what that statute points to. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone that did
I have a
not,
question for the state's attorney. Do you have a timetable for when we're going to finalize the Cole Warrentville case that's around? When are we gonna take it up?
Well, about 4 days in office now, almost 5, so been trying to organize the office first. I don't have an answer to that. Is it Mr. Perry, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Perry, I assumed at the end of January, but I certainly have not exhaustively looked through all of the documents.
I realize that you're coming in.
Well, I'm not trying to make excuses here, if I can finish.
Let's not drag this any longer than need be. That's what I'm asking you as a state's attorney, is to try to find ways to find the end and conclusion to what we've got going on, because it's time. 2 years is enough time.
Well, sir, I can tell you I will hold my oath to the county, okay?
Okay, that's all I can ask you. Thank you.
nothing further, motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion, Chairman.
You can't go anywhere.
Run.
Mr. Coffee, seconds, roll call, please.
Run, Forrest, run.
Yes. Daly?
Yes.
Doty?
Yes.
Dowdy?
Yes.
Marvin? Esper?
Yes.
Purdy? Shook?
Yes.
Barone?
Yes.
Bell?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
Long?
Yes. Adjourned, 8:15.
Did they applaud or?